Hey boys and girls, it's Mrs. Amato here, bringing to you chapters 6 through 10 from Out of My Mind by Sharon Draper. We are on chapter 8, and I look forward to reading it to you today. I also want to thank Simon & Schuster for allowing us to read it out loud. All right, here we go. Chapter 8. For a long time, it was just me, my mom and dad, and my goldfish, Ollie. I was 5 years old when I got him, and I had him for almost 2 years before he died. I guess that's old for a goldfish. Nobody knew Ollie's name but me, but that was okay. Ollie had been a prize from a carnival Dad had taken me to, and I think Ollie's life was worse than mine. He lived in a small bowl on the table in my room. The bottom of the bowl was covered with tiny pink rocks, and a fake plastic log sat wedged in the rocks. I guess it was supposed to look like something from under the sea, but I don't think there are any lakes or oceans that really have rocks that color. Ollie spent all day long swimming around that small bowl, ducking through the fake log and then swimming around again. He always swam in the same direction. The only time he changed his course was when Mom dropped a few grains of fish food into the bowl each morning and evening. I'd watch him gobble the food and then poop it out, then swim around and around once again. I felt sorry for him. At least I got to go outside, into the store, into the school. Ollie just swam in a circle all day. I wondered if fish ever slept. But any time I woke up in the middle of the night, Ollie was still swimming, his little mouth opening and closing like he was trying to say something. One day, when I was about 7, Ollie jumped out of his bowl. I had been listening to music on the radio. Mom had finally figured out that I liked country western station, and I was in a good mood. The music was sounding orangey and yellowish as I listened, and the faint whiff of lemons seemed to surround me. I felt real mellow as I watched Ollie do his thing around the bowl. But suddenly, for no reason that I could figure, Ollie dove down to the bottom of the bowl, rushed to the top, and hurled himself right out of the bowl. He landed on the table, he gasped, he flopped, and I'm sure he was surprised that he couldn't breathe. His eyes bulged and the gills on his side pushed with effort. I didn't know what to do. He'd die without water really fast, so I screamed and I screamed. Mom was downstairs, or maybe outside getting the mail, and she didn't come right away. I screamed louder, louder I cried, I screeched. Ollie continued to flop and gasp, looking more desperate for the water that he needed. I howled once more, but Mom didn't come running. Where could she be? I knew I had to do something, so I reached over to the table and stretched out my arm. I could just barely touch Ollie's bowl. I figured if I could get the fish wet, at least a little bit, I might be able to save him. I hooked my fingers on the edge of the bowl. I pulled. Water splashed everywhere, all over the carpet, all over Ollie and me. He seemed to flop a little less for a second or two, and I kept wailing. Finally, I heard my mother thundering up the stairs. When she came through the door, she took one look at the mess and the dying goldfish and said, "Melody, what have you done? Why did you knock your fish bowl on the floor? Don't you know a fish can't live without water?" Of course I knew that. I'm not stupid. Why did she think I was screeching and calling for her? She scurried over and scooped up Ollie and gently placed him back in the bowl. Then she ran to the bathroom and I heard the running water, but I knew it was too late. Either because of the time out of the bowl or because the bathroom water wasn't the right temperature, Ollie didn't survive. Mom came back in and scolded me once more. "Your goldfish didn't make it, Melody. I don't get it. Why would you do that to the poor little fish? He was very happy in his little world." I wondered if maybe Ollie wasn't so happy after all. Maybe he was sick and tired of the bowl and that log and that circle. Maybe he just couldn't take it anymore. I feel like that sometimes. There was no way I could explain to Mom what had happened. I really had tried to save Ollie's life. I just looked away from Mom. She was angry and I was too. If she hadn't been so slow, Ollie might have made it. I didn't want her to see me cry. She cleaned up the mess with a sigh and left me with my music at an empty spot on my table. The colors had vanished. It was a long time before I was ready for another pet. But on my 8th birthday, my father brought a big box into the house. He seemed to have trouble holding on to it. When he set it on the floor in front of me, out exploded a wriggling gold fun. A puppy. A golden retriever puppy. I shrieked and kicked with joy. A puppy. The clumsy little dog raced around the room, sniffing every corner. I watched her every move, loving her right away. After exploring every table, leg, and piece of furniture, the puppy stopped, made sure all of us were watching, then squatted and peed right there on the carpet. Mom yelled, but only a little. That's when the dog knew she was in charge. She checked out Dad's bare toes. She stayed away from Mom, who was trying to soak the spot out of the rug with paper towels and that spray stuff that she uses in the kitchen. Finally, the puppy circled my wheelchair around and around like she was trying to figure it out. She sniffed my legs and feet, looked at me for a minute, and then jumped right into my lap like she'd done it a million times. I barely breathed, not wanting to disturb her. Then wow, she turned around 3 times and made herself comfortable. I think she made a noise like a sigh of satisfaction. I know I did. I stroked her soft back and head as gently as I could. I was the one who named her. Mom and Dad kept suggesting dumb names like Fuzzy and Coffee, but I knew as soon as I saw her what her name should be. I pointed to the bowl on the table, which held my most favorite candies, butterscotch caramel. They're soft enough to melt in my mouth, so I don't have to chew, and oh, they are delicious. You want to call her Candy? Dad asked. I shook my head no, so the sleeping puppy wouldn't wake up. Caramel? Mom asked. I shook my head once more. Why don't we call her Stinky? Dad suggested with a grin. Mom and I just glared at him. I continued to point at the candy dish. Finally, Mom said, I know. You want to call her Butterscotch. I wanted to shriek, but I forced myself to stay calm. I tried real hard not to do anything that would knock the puppy off my lap. I said softly as I continued to stroke the dog's silky fur. I didn't know anything could be so soft, and she was all mine. It was the best birthday I ever had. Butterscotch sleeps at the foot of my bed every night. It's like she read the book on what a great dog ought to do. Bark only when a stranger's at the door. Never pee or poop in the house. She got over that puppy stuff. And keep Melody happy. Butterscotch doesn't care that I can't talk to her. She knows that I love her. She just gets it. One day, a few months after I got her, I fell out of my wheelchair. It happens. Mom had given me lunch, taken me to the toilet, and wheeled me back into my room. Butterscotch trotted behind, never in the way, just close all the time. Mom popped in a DVD for me and made sure my hands were properly positioned so I could rewind and fast forward. She didn't notice my seatbelt wasn't fastened, and neither did I. She traveled up and down the stairs doing several loads of laundry. I'm awfully messy, and I guess she had just started fixing dinner. The rich aroma of simmering tomato sauce floated up the stairs. Mom knows I love spaghetti. She peeked her head in to check on me and said, I'm going to lie down for a couple minutes, Melody. Are you okay for a few? I nodded and pointed my arm toward the door to tell her to go ahead. My movie was getting good anyway. Butterscotch sat curled next to my chair. She'd outgrown my lap. So Mom blew me a kiss and closed the door. I was watching something I'd seen a million times, The Wizard of Oz. I think most people in the world can quote sections of that movie. No extra brains required, because it's one of the movies that gets played over and over on the cable channels. But I know every single word in it. I know what Dorothy will say before she even opens her mouth. I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Toto. It makes me smile. I've never been to Kansas or Oz or anywhere more than a few miles away from home. Even though I knew it was coming when the movie got to the part where the Tin Man does that stiff little dance to the music of If I Only Had a Heart. I cracked up. I laughed so hard I jerked forward in my chair and found myself face down on the floor. Butterscotch jumped up immediately, sniffing me to make sure I wasn't hurt. I was fine, but I couldn't get back up in my chair. Worse, I was going to miss the part where the cowardly lion gets smacked on the nose by Dorothy. I wondered how long Mama's last nap would last. I didn't scream like that time Ollie had jumped out of his bowl. I wasn't upset, just a little uncomfortable. I tried to flip over, but I couldn't from the position I just landed in. If I could have seen the television from where I'd fallen, I might have been okay for a while on the floor. Butterscotch makes a great pillow. But Butterscotch went to the door and scratched. I could hear her claws ripping at the wood. Dad wouldn't be so happy when he saw that, but Mom didn't come. So Butterscotch barked, first a couple of tentative yips, then louder and more urgent. Finally, she jumped up and threw her whole body against the door, making loud thuds. She'd bark, then thud, bark, then thud. Mom couldn't ignore all the racket. I'm sure it was only a few minutes, but it seemed like longer. Mom came to the door looking groggy. Her hair was all messed up. "What's going on in here?" she began. Then she saw me. "Oh, Melody, baby, are you okay?" She ran to me, sat down on the floor, and lifted me on her lap. She checked everything: my arms, my legs, my back, my face, my scalp, even my tongue. I wanted to tell her I was fine. All she needed to do was put me back in her chair, but she had to do the mom thing and double check. "Butterscotch, you're a good girl, a good girl," she said as she petted the dog and held me tight. "Doubles on the dog food tonight." I'm sure Butterscotch would have preferred a nice thick bone instead, but she can't talk either, so both my dog and I get what they give us. Mom carefully put me back in my chair and made sure my seatbelt was latched correctly. Butterscotch curled up right in front of me, making sure, I guess, that if I slid out again, she'd be there to soften the fall. That dog is amazing. Mom restarted the video from the beginning, but somehow the yellow brick road had lost some of its magic glow. Nobody really gets wishes granted by the great Oz. As I watched, I wondered if I were blown to Oz with my dog, what would we ask the wizard for? Brains? I've got plenty. Courage? Butterscotch is scared of nothing. A heart. We've got lots of heart, me and my pup. So what would I ask for? I'd like to sing like the Cowardly Lion and dance like the Tin Man. Neither of them did those things very well, but that would be good enough for me. Chapter 8. When I was 8, things changed. I knew Mom was going to have a baby even before she did. She smelled different, like new soap. Her skin was softer and warmer. She picked me up out of bed one morning, then almost let me fall back on the mattress. "Whew," she said. "You're getting awfully heavy, Melody. I'm going to have to start lifting weights." Her forehead had broken out in a sweat. I don't think I'd gain any weight. It was Mom who was different. She sat down on the chair next to my bed for a few minutes, then suddenly ran out of the room. I heard her throwing up in the bathroom. She came back a few minutes later looking pale. Her breath smelled like mouthwash. "I must have eaten something funky," she mumbled as she got me dressed, but I think she knew even then. I bet she was scared. When Mom finally figured it out, she sat down with me to break the news. "Melanie, I have something wonderful to tell you." I did my best to look curious. "You're going to have a baby brother or sister real soon." I grinned and did my best imitation of surprise and excitement. I reached out and hugged her, then I patted my stomach and pointed to myself. She knew what I meant. She looked at me right in the eye. "We're going to pray that this little one is fat and fine and healthy," she told me. "You know we love you, Melody, just as you are. But we're hoping this child doesn't have to face the same challenges that you do." Me too. From then on, she put Dad in charge of lifting me, and although she never talked about it again in front of me, I knew she was worried. She gobbled gigantic green pills, ate lots of fresh oranges and apples, and she had this habit of touching her bulging belly and mumbling a prayer. I could tell that Dad was scared too, but his worry showed up in funny ways, like bringing Mom piles of purple irises, her favorite flower, or fixing her gallons of grape Kool-Aid or big plates of grapes. I don't know what made Mom crave purple stuff. Instead of watching hours and hours of the Discovery Channel, I found myself in my room staring at an empty screen and just thinking about the silence. I knew that a baby was really time-consuming, and I also knew I took up a lot of time. How would my parents ever have time for both of us? Then, a really horrific thought popped in my brain. What if they decided to look into Dr. Hughley's suggestions? I couldn't make the thought go away. One Saturday afternoon, a few months before the baby was born, I was curled up on our sofa, dozing. Mom had just put pillows around me to make sure that I didn't fall off. Butterscotch slept nearby, and Dad's favorite jazz station played a saxophone snoozer. Mom and Dad sat together on the smaller sofa, talking quietly together. I'm sure they thought I was asleep. What if, Mom said, her voice tight. It won't be. The chances are so small, honey, Dad replied, but he sounded unsure. I couldn't bear it, Mom told him. You'd find the strength, he said calmly, but it's not going to happen. The odds are, but what if? She insisted, interrupting him, and for the second time I could remember, my mom started to cry. Everything is going to be fine, my father said, trying to soothe her. We've got to think positive thoughts. It's all because of me, my mother said softly. I perked up and listened harder. What do you mean? It's my fault that Melody is like she is, Mom, crying really hard then. I could barely or hardly make out the words. Diane, that's crazy. You can't hold on to that kind of guilt. These things just happen. I could tell Dad was trying to be reasonable. No, I am the mother, she wailed. It was my job to bring a child into the world safely, and I screwed it up. Every other woman on the planet is able to give birth to a normal baby. There must be something wrong with me. With me. Sweetheart, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And I could hear him pull my mom to him. But Chuck, I'm so scared this baby is going to be messed up too, she said with a breath. Please don't go there. Don't even think like that. Statistically, what are the chances? 2 children who, and I suddenly couldn't hear him anymore because my head was pulsing with the things I wanted to say but couldn't. I wanted to tell Mom that I was sorry she was so sad and so scared. That wasn't her fault. That I was just the way I was and that she had nothing to do with it. During Mom's entire pregnancy, however, my parents' attention to me wavered, even though, yeah, I worried that it would. Dad did lots more as Mom got closer to her due date. He did some of the laundry, most of the cooking, and all the lifting and carrying. I got to school on time every day, got my stories read to me every night, and the 3 of us waited and hoped and prayed. But Penny was born perfect and copper bright, just like her name. From the moment she came home from the hospital, she was a really happy baby. Mom truly did carry a little bundle of joy into the house. But I guess a new baby is rough on parents, on any parents, especially if they already have a kid like me at home. Sometimes they would have arguments. I could hear them through the wall. I need more help around here, Chuck, Mom would say, trying to keep her voice low. Well, you pay more attention to the baby than you do to me. If you'd help more, I'd have more time for you. With 2 kids and one of them is Melody, it's not easy. I have to go to work, you know. I have a job too. Don't throw that in my face. Plus, I'm up twice a night to nurse the baby. I know. I'm sorry, Diane. Dad always softened and let Mom win. It's just, I'm so tired all the time, Mom would say. Her voice was muffled. I'm sorry, I'll do better, I promise. I'll take off work tomorrow and take care of both girls. Why don't you go catch a movie or take Miss Valencia out to lunch? It would get quiet once more, but even so, somehow I always ended up feeling a teeny bit guilty. Life sure would be easier if they had only one child, one with working parts. I once got one of those electronic dolls for Christmas. It was supposed to talk and cry and move its arms and legs if you pushed the right buttons. But when we opened the box, one of the arms had come off, and all the doll did, no matter which button you pushed, was squeak. Mom took it back to the store and got her money back. I wonder if she ever wished she could get a refund from me. But Penny was the perfect baby. After just a few months, she was sleeping through the night and smiling through each day. She sat up exactly when infants were supposed to, rolled right on schedule, and crawled on cue. Amazing. It seemed so easy. Sure, she fell on her face a few times, but once she got it, she was off. Penny zoomed around like a little wind-up toy. She learned that the toilet was fun to splash in and that the lamps would fall if you grab a cord. She learned that golden retrievers are not ponies. Peas taste funny. Dead flies on the floor are a no-no. But candy is real good. She laughed all the time. She learned her sister Melody couldn't do what she could do, but she didn't seem to care. So I try not to care either. Dad and his camcorder followed Penny around like paparazzi follow a rock star. We have hundreds of hours of footage of Penny being cute and doing adorable things. And while I hate to admit it, sometimes I got kind of sick of watching a new video every time she learned something new. It sort of stinks to watch a baby do what you wish you could do. Penny holding her own bottle. Penny feeding herself teeny tiny Cheerios from her high chair tray. Penny saying mama, dada, just like babies on Sesame Street. Penny crawling on the floor, chasing butterscotch. Penny clapping her hands. How did her little brain know how to tell her to pull herself up to a standing position, to hold onto the sofa for balance? How did she know how to stand on her own? Sometimes she'd fallen over, but then she'd pop right back up. Never did she lie there, stuck like a little turtle in its shell. Dad still did our nighttime reading, but now it was Penny who snuggled on his lap. I was too big and too hard to balance, so I sat in my wheelchair, my dog at my feet, as the two of them read stories I knew by heart. Butterscotch still slept only in my room. I liked that. It really did make me glad to know Penny was learning the same books I loved so much. I wonder if she was memorizing them too. Probably not. She didn't need to. I think Penny's third word was Dee. She couldn't quite say melody, but she got the last part. I loved it when Mom put Penny in bed with me after her morning bath. She'd grab me and plant wet baby powder-smelling kisses all over my face. Dee, she'd say again and again. By the time she was 1, Penny could walk. She wobbled all over the house on her fat little legs. She fell a lot, dropping down on her butt and laughing every time she did. Then she'd get back up and try it again. That was something I'd never get to try. With 2 kids in the house, our family routines changed. It took twice as long to get everybody ready each morning. Mom made sure Penny was dressed in pretty little outfits every day, even though she was just going next door to Mrs. V's house. My clothes were okay, but I was noticing that lately they were more useful than cute. Mom seemed to be choosing them by how easy they'd be to get on me. It was kind of a bummer, but I knew I was getting heavier and heavier to lift, so changing me was harder. I probably should mention that feeding me is a real process. I can't chew well, so I mostly get soft foods like scrambled eggs or oatmeal or applesauce. Since I can't hold a fork or a spoon, I try, but I keep dropping them. Someone has to place the food into my mouth 1 spoonful at a time. It's a slow process. Spoon, slurp, swallow. Spoon, slurp, swallow. Lots of food falls on the floor. Butterscotch likes that. She's like a canine vacuum cleaner. Drinking stuff is hard for me too. I can't hold a glass and I can't sip from a straw, so somebody has to be very careful, hold a cup to my lips and tip a little bit of liquid into my mouth so I can swallow. Too much and I choke and cough and we start all over. It takes a long time to get a meal in me. I hate the whole process, obviously. And some mornings were really stressful. Chuck, can you bring me Melody's pink t-shirt from the clean clothes basket? She spilled juice all over her shirt. Didn't you put a bib on her, Diane? Dad yelled back. You know how she makes a mess. Why don't you wait and dress her after she eats? So you want me to feed her naked? Just bring the shirt, Mom snapped. And a diaper for Penny. She's got a stinker. She's 2. Isn't she old enough to be potty trained, Dad asked, coming downstairs with a blue t-shirt I'd outgrown in one hand and a diaper in other. Right, I'll get to the potty training tonight on the 25th hour of my day. Dad picked Penny up. Uh-oh, that's a bad one, he said, his nose scrunched up. Did you give her sweet potatoes again last night? I thought we stopped giving her those because they always give her runs. Well, if you had gone to the grocery store like I asked, I could have given her something different. And that shirt is blue, not pink, too small for Melody. Mom stormed out of the kitchen and up the stairs. Sorry, girls, Dad said to us. He whistled softly while he cleaned Penny up, threatening to call the hazmat team. That was funny. Then he finished feeding me breakfast, not caring that my oatmeal was getting all over the juice-stained shirt. Why not? May as well make a real mess, he said with a laugh. I smiled at him and smeared oatmeal on my tray. Mom came back down with fresh makeup and a freshly painted on smile, her hair done and with my pink shirt. She and Dad hugged in the kitchen, both took a deep breath, and we actually made it out of the house on time. We had lots of days like that. And we're up to chapter 10, and I'll see you soon to bring that to you. I hope you're having a great day. Miss you lots. Peace, love, books,